afternoon, everybody. Thanks for tuning in again to our BT Group Mastermind series. I'm going to have my partner, Pam Butera, here introduce this week's guest.
Okay, terrific. Thanks, Grace Ann. So we're excited today to have Greg Landis with us. He's having a little bit of a little bit of technical difficulties. And Greg is a CPA with Foresight Business Solutions, and they have several offices locally. And we're glad that he's here because if you're like us, you probably have a lot of questions about these SBA loans. Like, do you qualify for the PPP? Do you qualify for the $10,000 grant? Do you qualify for unemployment? What should you do? So Greg, how about we tackle the first one that I think is the most complicated, but has the biggest benefit behind it, which is the Paycheck Protection Program, the PPP loan that the SBA is giving us. I just did it, but you and I walked through it this week, and it's really not that overwhelming. They do ask for a lot of documents, but I was able to pull it together in an afternoon. So can you tell us who first, I guess, can qualify for it and who should apply?
Yeah, sure. So the Paycheck Protection Program is one of the programs that came out about a week and a half or so ago under the CARES Act. So as part of that act, the Treasury allocated $350 billion to this Paycheck Protection Program. So you'll hear it called the PPP program. And really it's for any small business owner with less than 500 employees. And it also includes self-employed individuals and 1099 contractors. So realtors would definitely be eligible for this because they typically have self-employment income that they're getting for their commissions. And really, there's not really, in order to be eligible for the loan, it's fairly easy to qualify. Again, you just have to be under 500 employees or a self-employed business or individual. You have to have been in business on February 15th, 2020. And the only other requirement is when you do the application, there's a certification that you're applying for these funds as a result of economic uncertainty as a result of the coronavirus. So you don't actually have to be shut down. I have lots of clients that are they're still operating, but they're not sure what that looks like down the road. So they have economic uncertainty. So I think it applies to virtually everyone. I can't think of anyone that it wouldn't apply to. The PPP program, it's being administered through your bank. So it's an SBA-backed program, but you'll need to apply with your bank. So the best thing to do is to contact your bank or whoever your contact is at your bank, and find out from them what the process looks like. I know a lot of the banks, if you go on their website, they have like a link, for a coronavirus, page. And on there, you can click on it, request more information on the PPP loan. And then, for example, my bank, I got like an email that said, here's the things that you need, here's what to fill out. And then you filled that out and uploaded it back up to the bank. Some other ones I know, like TD Bank, M&T Bank, Citizens, they have more of like an online platform where you create like a login to it and you basically enter all that information, online and apply that way. So that's the basics. And then in terms of like the way the actual PPP program works is if you're a business that has employees, what they're going to do is they're going to calculate a loan amount equal to 2.5 times your average monthly payroll. So they would look at your 2019 payroll or your last 12 months payroll, divide that by 12 times 2.5. And that's essentially your loan amount. The other things they include in there is payments for health insurance. So if you're paying for a group health insurance plan or retirement contributions, those would be included as well. So that's if you have employees. If it's just you and you're self-employed and you're filing like a Schedule C and receiving like a 1099 income, the way I think that's going to work is they're going to look at your most recently filed Schedule C, and they're going to look at the net income number from that Schedule C. So if you made $150,000 on your Schedule C last year, they're going to look at that number. And the one thing to be aware of is it's capped at $100,000 per person. So if you're a self-employed individual that made $150,000, they're going to cap it at $100,000. They're going to divide that by 12, times 2.5, and that's what they'll call your payroll costs for purposes of the loan. The big thing with the Paycheck Protection Loan that everyone's excited about and why a lot of people are applying to it is they're calling it a loan, but it has a forgivable component to it, in that if you apply for the loan and you get funded the loan, there's a forgiveness that you can apply for, where you'd get funded by the loan, and then you go out 8 weeks, and then after 8 weeks you can apply to have that loan forgiven. And as long as you use those funds for qualifying costs, you don't pay that money back. So qualifying costs are, if you have employees, it's continuing to pay your employees. It's if you have any kind of debt, paying the interest on the debt. It's paying your rent, utilities. And I think the way it'll work in the example of someone who's self-employed and working for themselves is they'll basically forgive that 2.5 times whatever your monthly salary was. So it's a really great program for businesses out there that are struggling and looking to kind of keep people employed.
And so you make a lot of great points, and I just want to make sure that people know that you need to go to your personal bank, because if you don't have an account with the bank, from what I'm being told, I don't even know if it's worth your time to submit the application. Is that right? It seems like
so a lot of them, if you don't have an account with the bank, there's not even a mechanism for you to apply, because you kind of like for example, the one that I did, you had to enter your bank account information in first to even get like the link to apply. There's Bank of America, when they came out last week, they weren't accepting them from everyone, but then I think over the weekend they did start accepting applications from people that didn't have accounts there. I'm not sure if they still are, but yeah, most banks are only working on applications from existing customers. I did hear Republic Bank, which is like a local Philadelphia-based bank, is taking applications from people that don't have accounts there, but they're one of the only ones that I know of.
Yeah, you know what? I did hear that this morning. One of my coworkers went to Republic and was able to get her application through. So this forgiveness part is interesting to me. Am I going to get an email from my bank that says, hey, apply for the forgiveness, or should I put a note in my calendar 8 weeks from this week to follow up on that?
Yeah, I'm not really sure, but I would think that it's going to be on the borrower to go back to the bank and apply for it. They haven't really rolled out the specifics of that, but I would think the banks would have probably some similar mechanism, like where you submit an application for forgiveness. And I would think the Treasury Department is going to come out with, or the SBA is going to come out with like a form that almost like a loan forgiveness form that you would fill out and then resubmit back to your bank. But I do think it's going to be on the borrower to submit for that, to apply for that approval for the forgiveness.
Okay.
And Greg, just to reiterate, it's if they do have to pay it back, they have 2 years and it's at 1%. Is that correct?
Yeah. So it's a 2-year term at 1% interest. So for the component of the loan that's not forgiven. So let's say you don't have enough qualifying costs over those 8 weeks to get the full amount forgiven. Whatever's remaining is a 2-year term at 1%. And I think that there's a deferral of any interest, principal and interest payment, or any payments for the first 6 months.
Okay.
So you don't have to make any payments for the first 6 months.
Awesome. Thank you, because I feel like a lot of realtors are so unsure of what they can actually get and what they can't get. And I know until we had our conversation the other day, I didn't even know that if you're a single agent that you could apply for your own payroll for yourself if you hit over that certain number.
Right. Yeah. So it really.
Okay.
It really depends on how you're organized. So like if you're an S corp, you as the owner might already be on payroll, so your wages are going to be included in that calculation. But if you're a Schedule C, you're going to need to file for that with that self-employment income.
Awesome.
Right. What threw me first was the name of it, paycheck program. I was like, paycheck, huh?
Yeah.
So because we get commissions, but okay.
Yeah. They kind of make it confusing because the way it's calculated, it's based on payroll costs. But when you look at the definition of payroll cost, it's obviously regular payroll, but it's also earnings from self-employment, which is where the 1099 component comes in.
Right. Okay. Do you think there's anything we haven't covered about the PPP program?
I mean, the biggest thing is, every bank is doing this differently. So every bank, I've probably, working with like clients and doing it myself, I've probably seen, 10 different banks, and every one of them is different. I mean, they're all using this. There's a standard, basically 2-page application, and really the application itself is fairly simple. It asks for, that payroll cost number or that earnings from self-employment number. And then really there's just certifications, like as far as like, check the box type certifications that you're in business, that you're using it for payroll costs. So it's a simple application, but the banks are all asking for different supporting details. So different banks were looking at different periods for the payroll reports. Some are asking for a lot more information than others. So the biggest thing is you start talking to your bank early and start trying to work through that process. The other important thing is you want to apply as soon as possible. There was $350 billion allocated to the program. They already think that's going to not be enough. And, the Treasury Department went back to Congress to ask for another $250 billion, which I think Congress just might have turned that down this morning and said, we want some more stipulations around this. But the best advice is, apply early and get your application in line, because, the banks are struggling to process these. So there's going to be a delay. The one thing I have heard is, you hear in the headlines about there's been, X billion dollars that have been approved. I think people have been approved. I don't think anyone's actually received funding yet. So people have gotten their loans approved, but I don't think anyone has cash in their bank account at this point.
And we don't have any idea on like what that time frame is looking like, correct?
Yeah, they don't know. I mean, they talked about funding it the same day that you got approved, which that hasn't happened.
Okay.
So I don't know.
How do they know how to direct deposit it into my account? Because I didn't put any of that in, it's not asked on the application.
I think once you get approval, they'll ask where you want the funds to go.
Okay, that makes sense. I didn't think about that. Yeah, because that's a monumental task. I can't even begin to fathom the processing aspect in the back office for the SBA. But okay, all right,
Sure.
Terrific. How about we talk about the $10,000? I mean, we're calling it a grant. Is it a grant? What's the $10,000?
Yeah. So
program?
the other program that a lot of my clients are applying for and that we're working through with them is again, under the SBA, there's the emergency injury disaster loans, the EIDL loans they're calling them. So these came out probably a week or two before the PPP loans became available. So these were actually part of the Family First Act that got passed before the CARES Act. And the way this works is it's an actual loan through the SBA. So this one, as compared, it is directly with the SBA as compared to the PPP, which is through your bank. The attractive part of the EIDL is there's an emergency grant component to it of up to $10,000, where when you go through the process of applying for the loan, there's a section where you check a box that says, I'd like to also apply for the emergency assistance grant of up to $10,000. That part would be a grant. So if you got that $10,000, as long as you're using it for qualifying costs, which are really, again, it's paying your people, running your business, rents, anything to kind of keep your business running, would qualify, and then you wouldn't pay back that 10 grand. And then on top of that, there's an actual loan that's available under this program, where it would be an actual term loan of up to, I think it's up to 30 years, depending on what program you get. The big thing with this though is I've had hundreds of clients apply for this. Not a single one's gotten any of that emergency money yet, and some of them probably applied over 2 weeks ago. So again, there's just delays on the processing. And the other thing I've heard with the $10,000 component is that not everyone's going to receive $10,000, meaning that's like the maximum you can receive. And I've seen on some, this isn't official, but I've seen on some things that what they're saying is you're basically going to get $1,000 per person or per employee. So if it's just you may only receive $1,000, but if you have 10 employees, you may get $10,000. But again, that's just some speculation I heard from some other people, and no one's gotten that money yet. So I don't know how long it's going to take, but again, it's that one you actually apply for directly on the SBA website, and it's a super easy application. Probably takes less than half an hour, and it's worth doing, because again, even if you get a few $1,000s, it's well worth it.
Right. And Greg, another question, this might be not the brightest question, but I'm sure people are wondering this. Can they get both loans, or is that not allowed? I know some people can get the loan and unemployment, and there's different things that are being done. So how does it work with both loans together?
Yeah, so you can definitely apply for both and receive both. So actually, when you apply for the PPP loan, So the maximum loan amount under the PPP, it's capped at $10 million. So if you had enough employees and enough people to get $10 million worth of loans, it's capped at $10 million, including the value of anything you got under the EIDL loan, right? So as long as anything you got under the EIDL program, plus the PPP loans under 10 million, you can apply for both. And if let's say you already received the 10 grand under the EIDL, you can actually roll that 10 grand into the PPP loan and kind of combine the two under the PPP program. The only thing with the EIDL and the PPP is, for both of those, you have to have qualifying costs to qualify for the forgiveness. So if you got $10,000 under the EIDL and $10,000 under the PPP and only had 10 grand of qualifying costs subsequently, you're only going to get 10 grand forgiven between the two programs. So you have to have enough qualifying costs to be able to get both forgiven. But yeah, there's no reason why you can't, apply for both and potentially receive money under both.
Okay. And is there anything else we need to know about that program, do you think? I did that one too.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Again, I think most people that are applying for that are applying, because of the emergency grant component. Yeah, I think it's that one's a longer term loan if you actually go through and get the loan process, but you are able to apply for that, and potentially get the emergency grant, and then you don't have to take the actual loan component on the back end, right? So there's a larger loan component that's a traditional loan. So you can apply and potentially get the emergency grant and not take the actual loan down the road. So yeah, my advice to all my clients was, if you qualify for it, and again, the only thing you need to be to qualify is you have to have been in business and you have to be in an area that's impacted by the coronavirus. So for example, all of Pennsylvania is impacted because it's under the governmental shutdown. So there's not a hard loan to qualify for.
Okay.
So go ahead. I kind of was thinking, I know that some people are commenting some questions and some comments. So if we wanted to open it up, I don't want to keep Greg too long. If we could open it up and see if anyone has any questions that you could answer for them.
Sure.
One thing while we're waiting to see, because there's a delay with Facebook, unemployment. I know I've been asked if agents can and should apply for unemployment. Do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so one of the components under the CARES Act was that they're making state unemployment available to people who are self-employed or 1099s that ordinarily would not be eligible for that. So certainly, realtors would qualify, for that to the extent that you're not, earning money or earning as much money, from your business. For Pennsylvania right now, I don't think there's actually a mechanism on the PA unemployment site to actually apply as a self-employed person yet. That's supposed to be coming. So that's certainly something else I would recommend doing, especially given that there's delays, in the funding of these other programs. So my recommendation has been when that becomes available, if you're unemployed and you're not making money as a realtor, apply for that. You can't receive unemployment and have qualifying costs for the forgiveness of the PPP loan at the same time. So if you did get the PPP loan, what you potentially might want to do is take those funds, let it run out the 8 weeks, get the forgiveness, and if you're still not able to earn money as a self-employed individual at that time, you can go back and reapply for unemployment after that period expires. But unemployment is definitely a good option because you potentially get the normal amount that the state would give you, and then the CARES Act, the federal government is going to give up to an additional $600 per week on top of what the state is. So it's definitely something that you should be looking into.
And that's $600 a week. That's just automatic for everybody.
I don't think I think it's up to a maximum of $600. I think it's probably, It probably depends. So I think if you qualify for the state's maximum, you probably get the $600. But I imagine it's going to be kind of tiered down based on what you actually qualify for under unemployment. So it's going to be some amount up to that.
Okay, got it. Okay, Grace Ann, do we have any questions?
Let me see. Let me pull up into Facebook. There's some people saying great information. Someone mentioned that, that about the same now. You said that some banks said you could apply if you don't have an account. We do have a question. Hold on one. As a 1099 independent contractor, who do you put down as your employer if you're applying for regular unemployment? I asked because after that question, it states they will be contacting your employer to make sure you're unemployed.
Yeah, I think that's a function of the. I don't think the PA unemployment site yet is set up to handle unemployment applications from self-employed people. So you can try to apply, but I think that's the problem you're going to run into. Is I don't think they have the site set up yet to take those applications. So I think that's why you're running into that issue.
Okay, and we have another. If you haven't filed 2019 taxes yet, what do we write for gross annual revenue and also business net income? Do we go off of 2018?
Yeah, so I think they're accepting either your 2018 numbers from your 2018 tax return, so your 2018 Schedule C, or you could also use like a 2019 profit and loss statement that you kind of put together based on your the 1099 that you received plus your expenses. So our recommendation to our clients has been I'd have both of those things ready. So I'd have a copy of your 2018 return, with your 2018 Schedule C, and I'd also have put together kind of a one-pager of here's my my income and my expenses for 2019 and my net 2019 income.
Awesome. And
program, I didn't do that.
Greg, we have someone here. I know you touched on it slightly, but it says, I know the SBA was bombarded with loan requests, but did you hear of anyone getting any money yet? I believe you said no, but if you could just confirm that.
Yeah, so I know we've had probably 2 or 3 clients get approved, meaning that they got confirmation back from the bank that they were approved, for the loan amount, but they haven't actually gotten funded yet. So at least for the handful of clients of mine that have actually gotten through the approval process, they haven't received funding yet. So I think there's a delay on the funding, but whether other borrowers have gotten it, I don't know. I just kind of know from the feedback I'm getting from the bankers and the people that I'm talking to is that the funding really hasn't happened yet.
Okay, and I see someone commented here, 1099 applications are not available yet. Do you know when, and have any idea when that will be? Yeah, so when the PPP came out last Friday, it became available for businesses that had employees, and then tomorrow on the 10th, it's supposed to be available for self-employed and 1099s. So it should be tomorrow, but again, the banks are all different. So some banks were ready last Friday for people, some weren't ready till Monday, some weren't ready till Tuesday. So I think it depends on your bank, but I think again, check with your bank on when it's going to be available for for 1099s. Awesome. Do we have any other questions, guys? Let's give it just a second to see if anything pops up, because there is a slight delay between our Zoom and when it actually hits on Facebook. Okay.
It's all good info, Greg. I so appreciate your time because I know you're super busy right now. Even though our tax deadline is no longer April 15th, right? The filing is now, is it July 15th?
Yeah, so the IRS extended the deadline to both file and to pay any amounts due. They extended that till July 15th. So if you owed money for 2019, you have an automatic extension until July 15th to pay that. And Pennsylvania mirrored that same requirement. So you have the same extension at the state level.
Okay, so that helps you to some degree, right? You're not as crazy right now.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of the immediate pressure off. And like I said, we've just been spending a lot of time over the last. Really, ever since the act was finalized, 2 weeks ago, just a lot of conversations, going over these same things with our clients, because every client's a little bit different. They all have different questions. So, we're just trying to help them out the best we can.
We have another question here, Greg. Can you possibly post where the 1099 website might be, or should we just ask our bank?
It's going to be different for every bank. So you need to either contact your bank or look on the bank's website for where they have a lot of them have like a coronavirus, page where there's a link that you can click on. But yeah, there's not one central place, to apply as a 1099. It's going to depend on your bank.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Greg. We really appreciate this. I know it's a lot of knowledge for a lot of realtors. People keep commenting. Thank you so much. This is some great information. Sure. We really, really appreciate your time.
Yes. And
all right,
for everybody,
thanks so much.
We have your contact info on the Facebook page, just so everybody knows in case they want to reach out to you for, to hire you for more help. So thank you again. Always
all right. All right. Thanks. Thanks, Pam.
Thank you. And
Bye.
Facebook world, we will see you next Thursday at 12 o'clock with our next BT Group Realtor Mastermind. Have a good day, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.